Hi, and welcome to the Wholeness Shift. My name is Veronica, and I help you to navigate your spiritual awakening. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for showing up. I'm glad you found me. If you're interested in all things spiritual, metaphysical, like we talk about all the things, we talk about dreams and reincarnation and aliens and spirit guides and pendulums and anything you could ask for. So if this interests you, hit the subscribe button below because I wouldn't want you to miss out on anything good. Today, I have Kayla Eichmeyer back. She's here to talk about numerology with us again. And we were just talking about how we're not going to label or limit this video. We kind of know what we want to talk about, but we're really just going to let spirit lead the conversation. We know that we want to kind of make it about how you can use numerology to heal generational trauma, heal your DNA, how you can use it to help like older generations. I'm Gen X. I wouldn't say I'm old, but like if you're Gen Z, you think I'm old, but how we can use numerology to help us deal with these little 2000s babies that we need to work together to create and manifest the world that we're trying to manifest. And so, what kind of tools or understanding can we come to so that we can understand each other better, relate to each other better, communicate more effectively, so that we can all co create the world we want to live in with spirit? So, if this interests you, stick around and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. It helps me so much. But buckle in and we're just going to see where this goes. Kayla, hello.
Hello, hello. I'm so
Oh my
excited
God.
to be here
I'm
again.
excited to have you
Love your
back.
channel.
Like, you are my people. Let me tell you, like, I just resonate so much with you. And it's so funny because when you messaged me about this topic, you're like, hey, I want to talk about this topic. Are you interested? And I'm like, oh my God, just yesterday, I was talking to my guides about help me to heal this generational trauma, help remove this stuff from my DNA. And you're like, oh my God, we are so in alignment.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
I'm like, let's do it. Let's talk about it. So you're saying that numerology isn't just woo woo. As Jamie Butler would say, if you guys know Jamie Butler, we love Jamie Butler. Uh, this isn't just woo woo, it's true, true. So numerology isn't woo, it's a complex system of numbers that holds specific vibrations and frequencies that are in alignment to who you are
hmm
as a person, your past, present, future, like all the things.
All the things.
All the things.
All the things.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
So with numerology, we all tend to think it's woo because the woo people tend to go towards it, right? Even me, I'm a psychic medium, I'm a spiritual healer, I'm a Reiki master teacher, all of the things. Numerology has been my mainstay, and it is actually at the core what numerology is a very predictable patterning of numbers. And there is nothing less woo than a number. Numbers are the basis of everything. And so, this ancient system that we have been gifted has literally given you your life path in writing. It can tell you if you don't get an alignment in this spot this week, you're probably going to get a cold. If you don't do X, Y, and Z and you're feeling something emotionally, you're probably going to have, massive anxiety. I mean, it could even be as big as, and I'm not a doctor, so before we really go into this, I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying what I'm seeing. It can say, okay, well, you might be leading right to a heart attack, right? The thing with that also is that when we have generational trauma, I can see it in accordance to, say, I have your moms and your daughters and, like grandma's chart and everything. I can see the crossovers and you can see where, okay, this is where that heart attack may be coming in from their trauma, and I'm carrying it over. And
Yeah.
these emotions around it are coming from relationship issues.
Yeah.
Are
Let's go back to just for a second about how, numbers are so significant. And it
yeah.
blows my mind that some of the more less woo people, the more mathematically driven, scientific driven, like that they don't understand the importance and significance of a number simply because everything that
Is a
is
number.
based on math. It's based on the numbers. And so if it is that significant and like literally our entire universe is built on math and numbers,
Right.
why are you so dismissive about this having meaning as well? Do you know what I mean? That's what always sticks
Absolutely.
out to me.
I wonder the same. I live with somebody that is very I'll believe it when I see it, very logical thinking, right? And one day I said to him, I said, there's nothing more logical than a number. And he doesn't want anything to do with any of this, right? I mean, he's coming around a little bit, but and that's his choice. That's fine.
Sure.
Um but I think a lot of it, the reason why it's dismissed so much is because there's a lot of people that don't realize it is just numbers, right? And because there is a divide between our worlds, and a lot of the people that are drawn to frequency and healing and stuff like that are drawn to this
Yeah.
because it is used for healing a lot of times.
Now, I tend to be an extremely skeptical, practical thinking person as well. And Spirit had their work cut out
Mhm.
for them
They did.
to get me to believe. The thing is that if you've seen my videos, my reincarnation video, things like that, they set about giving me proof that was so real to me or that resonated so deeply that I had no choice but to believe.
Right.
It was see it, I believe it when I see it, like, okay, so they showed it to me. And I'm like, I get it now. And like the readings that I get, the readings you've given me, I'm like, that makes so much sense. And so I would kind of just have to be so in my ego and just being a brat that's like, no, I refuse to believe, to stay in my disbelief because the proof was just so there for me. And if you are willing to open your mind and believe, you're going to believe because they're going to show you if you're willing and that's what you want. The thing
Mhm.
is that the universe creates whatever reality you want.
Yes.
It reflects back to you your belief system. So if you believe this is all junk and it's garbage, you're going to get evidence of that. But if you truly open your mind and heart and say, I'm open, show me,
Mhm.
they will. The other
Mhm.
thing I want to say about this before we move on is that I'm not someone who's ever resonated a whole lot with Bashar. Do you know who Bashar is?
I've
He's
heard.
he's the entity that Daryl Anka channels.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay. I never really resonated. I mean, I don't have anything against him. It's just he's not someone I resonated with or was drawn toward. But lately, so much. Like I soak up everything he says. So it's either time for me to learn it or he has something new. It's time for me to learn, you know. So, anyways, one thing that I heard him say recently that I think can apply to this so much was he was talking about what he calls permission slips. And
Mm.
it was specifically in regards to numerology that day. Someone asked a question and they're like, is numerology real? And he's like, do you believe it's real? And she's like, yes. He goes, here's the thing. Even if it's not, it's a permission slip. Even if you don't believe it, it's a permission slip.
Mhm.
Consider it like a placebo effect or anything. Even if you're a non believer,
Yeah.
hearing the words, there's a great love coming to you. You should get out there and be open to dating. Or you've been thinking about making a big move for a while, like now's the time. Like just hearing those words from somebody, even if you're not a believer, it's a permission slip for you to go, they're right. It's
Yeah.
time for me. And so then you're open to all the possibilities. And so if you believe it, you're going to hear the truth. And even if you don't believe it, it can be a permission slip for you to get into alignment with what's best for you. So, anyways, I just thought that was cool.
Yeah, it is. And I've said that before too. It's um whether or not, say, any of this was real, it's still gonna do good. It's giving somebody faith. It's giving somebody faith in
Oh,
themselves.
giving
Yeah.
someone direction.
Yeah, and it allows you and it shows you how capable you truly are when you believe in
Yeah.
yourself to do something.
A lot of the people in this world right now they feel directionless.
Yeah,
They feel this has been a rough week for the United States this week with the election and whatnot. There's a lot of people who are feeling hopeless and they're just like, well, what now? Like, what now? And for them to get a reading and even just to hear, like, it's going to be okay.
right.
You got plans, or this is what was supposed to happen, or
Yeah,
you're gonna do fine.
right.
It lights us, it reminds, because we already all know the answers to everything. It's all in us. But to hear it said externally can validate us and make us go, oh yeah, it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. It gives a little hope.
Yeah. And I've been talking about this in my group too. Um, so as a collective, if you picture the collective as a big giant bubble of energy,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's energy is going and getting sucked into this bubble, and it gives and it takes. It's kind of like its own ecosystem, right? We feel that collective energy. And so the numbers do tell us what is going to be happening collectively. But the numbers in our chart specific to us can tell us exactly how to get through the heaviness and protect ourselves and shield ourselves from all the stuff that is happening out here. We don't have to be caught up with what is going on out here, right?
Yep.
And so, like, the purpose of the numbers in our charts is to help us live a good life and be in an alignment. And when we are in alignment, that hefty negative ball of energy that we have doesn't affect us as much. No matter if everything out here is going crazy and haywire and questioning and nobody knows the truth, if you're in your chart, your frequency, your vibration, you can still land $1 million job in the midst of chaos.
Yeah.
It's by coming back here.
And when you're in your highest, best possible space, you're adding that, as you were talking about the collective consciousness, you're adding all of that goodness to the bucket of the collective consciousness. And it's like a scale, and when that bucket of goodness and high vibe, it reaches critical mass and like the scale tips. And
Yeah.
pretty soon it's just infectious. Like the world is a better place.
Mhm.
So sometimes people are like, what's my job? And sometimes your only job as a little star seed on this planet is to have a great life and to add to that bucket,
Absolutely.
help it to tip the bucket.
Yeah. And exactly with what you're saying is even in negativity, we create as a collective consciousness
Mm-hmm.
a frequency.
Yeah.
We create this big, giant wonderfulness frequency when we're all in alignment, the group of us that are in alignment and doing the work and stuff. And it really does help push that out with just yourself, right? Because if you're doing it yourself, it does its thing to like 10 other people, right? And then can you imagine if one person does the work and does the healing work and that gets to 10 people, how fast
Yeah. Does the whole
that
light
big,
up? Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can light the world right up. And that's the basis of it. It's not, when people want to go out and they want to make a change in the world, I want to do this, I want to do that. That's wonderful. That's great. But you can't fully step into that
Yeah.
until you know you, until you are good with you, because your vibrations are actually what helps you get there. Your frequency, living in alignment to allow the opportunities to come to you and let the universe do its work,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what all of this is about. So if you want to go and make like great change in this world, you got to sit with you. It really does start there.
For sure. The other thing, we were just talking about this in our club shift meeting earlier today. And if you feel like you need a community of like-minded people who can learn and support each other, who are learning all of this together, a lot of us, when we're newly awakening, we don't have a community or a support system, someone to talk about this stuff with. Go to my website and sign up for Club Shift. But this morning in our Zoom meeting, we were talking about this, and one of the girls was talking about how, parallel realities and different timelines you can be on, and how, especially like this week with the election and whatnot, is what we were talking about.
Mhm.
And she said that, like, you have to frame your energy for the timeline you're wanting to hop on. What reality are you wanting to see come? Because
Right.
there's different paths. Which collective consciousness do you want to jump onto?
Right. Yep.
Um, and so you have to focus on you, and you have to co-create that reality with the universe and make sure you're on the timeline you want to be on, because you really are creating your reality.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's true. And that's creating the reality that you want. So with numerology, we go through and I mean, even speaking of like this DNA stuff that we were talking about in the beginning, um, you have to know your path, right? And that seems to be the biggest key is that people have these little secret desires in them, whether they've, since they're a little girl, want to be a public speaker, right? Or they want to be a writer, or they want to be a cook, or any of this stuff. A lot of times we push all that stuff down and we don't follow our paths because we are still living in what our parents and everybody else before has taught us. The key is to not live in that. And with the numerology, we show you how to do that. And I can show you, or anybody who does numerology, they can show you, well, here's your options. If this is what's coming up for you this week, this month, this year, it's going to be very either career driven or internally driven, health driven, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And this is what's going to happen. If you choose to do this, you're going to go on this timeline. And if you choose to do the high thing, you're going to go up here and here's your outcome. The thing, that little sparkly thing that you've been wanting, it's all right there. You really have to
You
truly
know,
know who you are.
when you had pulled my chart, if I remember right, because it was a little while ago now, but backing up, I always wondered what it would say for me, what was supposed to be my path. Because honestly, when I was little, the only thing I wanted to be when I grew up was Linda Ronstadt. She was my first girl crush. I was so in love with her. She was so beautiful with her dark hair and her dark eyes and her hoop earrings, singing Blue Bayou and all this stuff. Like, if you're too young, look, Google it. Google's free. You can Google who Linda Ronstadt is. But I would just look at her picture and I just remember thinking, I hate the name Veronica. You can't find it on any souvenirs or anything. I want to be called Linda, and I want to be Linda Ronstadt when I grow up. But then when I had my reading, um, when I had my reading with you, I want to say you said that I was meant to be a teacher and meant to speak to the public and things. And I'm like, it just makes so much sense because I mean, that's where I am. And that's what just is so authentic to me, to be a teacher, a writer, a speaker,
Yeah.
myself, to be myself.
Yep.
And but I always wondered, like, did I create that and manifest that, or was that always in the cards? Because like
Yeah.
I just wanted to be Linda Ronstadt. I wanted some hoop earrings, and I wanted to sing some songs and have people think I'm pretty.
Yep. Yeah. And like at the basis of that is you wanted to be in front of people.
Bingo. I guess so.
I mean, that's
Which,
what
if you were to ask me that question, do you want to be in front of people? I'd be like, no.
Mhm.
No, people always say, like, but you film videos for thousands of people. And I'm like, no, I film a video by myself in a room with the camera. Like, there's nobody. Do I want to be in front of people? No way. I'm
Yeah.
such an introvert. I'm so shy.
Mhm.
I can mask it really well. I can fake it. After all those years of nursing, you learn how to fake it.
Mhm.
You walk in the room and be like, hey, how's it going today? I'm your nurse. Fake.
Right.
I filled with dread whenever I would have to go into those rooms because I'm so shy.
Mhm.
But so if the question was, do you want to grow up and be in front of people? I'd be like, F that.
I
No.
didn't. I didn't, but that's my path too, is I'm
Well, it
supposed to
is
be
my
in front
path.
of like mass amounts of people. I
But
would like,
my whole life, I've had plenty to say.
mhm.
And if people know me, they'd be like, you sure do.
Yeah, and that's the
But I
amazing thing
do.
about it. Huh?
I said, but I do. I have a lot to say. And I've always, like, if a tree falls in the woods and there's nobody there to see it, did it make any noise? You know what I mean? It's like if there's nobody to be a witness, does it count? What's the value if you can't share that and say, hey, look at what happened. Let me share it with you. Look what I learned. Let me share it with you.
Yes.
If there's no one to witness what you're doing or what you've learned or how you're growing, how much real value was there in it? There was a little bit, of course, but I mean, to me, my whole life would mean nothing if
Mm.
I could not build, create, share
Yeah,
less.
absolutely. That is the path of the seven of spades. That is it.
And
We're
I also think it's funny. I told you this before. I'm like, my whole life, I've been so drawn to seven. Seven is my favorite number, without a doubt, hands down. Energetically, it feels so pretty to me. Seven and October have the same feeling to me energetically, but I just love them. And you're like, well, you are a seven. And I'm like, this makes complete sense.
yes.
Yeah.
There's so much, and when we're speaking of purpose wise, um, it's so hard for a lot of people to realize that it's not black and white. So when we say you're a teacher, right? That teaching can show up in any way
So many
where
ways.
it's it's expansive. It doesn't mean that you have to be in a classroom teaching, right?
Right.
You innately just teach people stuff through your life path. And generally for the sevens that carry that energy, it's through sacrifice. Like I'll use you for as an example, because we're talking about DNA and all of the stuff.
Yeah,
Seven of spades typically ends up having health issues that are chronic.
I do. Big time.
Yeah, because it's supposed to help instill faith because you are the faith card. You are the person of I have to awaken to what faith means in my life and what faith means spiritually, right? Being spiritually led. And so sometimes those conditions are just in us because it's awakening something in you, right? It's just, and that is the part of it that helps you awaken things in other people. You're like the person that awakens people, right? It's so amazing and so brilliant. But also within that, because you are a seven of spades, the seven of spades really has to watch their attitudes about stuff. Yes, because
That is the number one hurdle for me. We were just talking this morning about in my meeting. I was like, none of this will ever be said live out there, but like, this is just for you guys. Like, sometimes I have such human moments, and like, girl, just get so belligerent and I have such an attitude.
yeah, you're the attitude card. I freaking love it.
See, it's divinely inspired.
Yes.
This is the way I was made. I am extra spicy just for you.
And that's a part of who you are. So then we dig in and we get deeper into it like, okay, because you're a spade, you're a health card. That can be mental health, that can be physical health, it can be all of those things. And with the attitude thing, right? Like this is just a very general overall talking about the card,
Sure.
but um that when you have a negative attitude, right? Well, what does that do in our world? That creates stress. That creates this, I don't have enough, the feeling of lack, right? It creates issues in our relationships. And now all of these things are happening around us where it's like not good things start happening in the physical world. This can be loss. This can be actual illness. This can be, say, money sort of issues, like all of that, right? And it's much, much deeper than this, but just
Yeah.
overview of it. But when we're on the high side of that, oh my God, this is I am going to just have faith in myself and take a leap, and I am going to heal people. I am going to show people my sacrifices that I have made and turn it into a phenomenal moment and give it meaning, the things that I have gone through. And
Yeah.
now we're getting even higher on this, and now the money starts coming in. And then now we have a shift in the relationships, and you're feeling good, and the sun's hitting your face finally. Just
Mm.
takes that ounce of understanding, right? An ounce of validation and running with it.
And you know what's so funny is that when we were looking at my chart and we were talking about, I'm like, I just feel so stuck. Like I'm not making videos. I just feel stuck and stagnant and burned out. And like, I'm just in a funk. And I know it won't be forever, but this is where I am. And you're like, well, this card right here,
Yeah.
this shows that like you have a couple different timelines, but like, are you too into the politics or something? And I'm like, that tracks. And you're like, yeah, if you resolve that, all of this is going to open up to you.
Hmm.
It's your choice. And I'm like, yeah, that tracks. That tracks for sure. And as much as you try to stay out of it, when you
Right.
feel passionately about the issues,
Yeah.
it's difficult to stay out. And I'm by nature just such a passionate person about certain things that
Mhm.
it's very hard for me to just observe and not react.
Right. And
And yeah,
the other part of you being the 11, right? And
okay.
you are the one that wants to bring peace and harmony and
Yes, that's what
balance.
I want.
So it makes sense that with your two combined that you're like all riled up and in this.
I am. And like someone the other day, I had posted something on Instagram after the election, and it wasn't even blatantly saying this. It was just a quote of something. But people were all so fired up everywhere. And someone had responded, a viewer had responded, and she wasn't being very nice. And she's like, I'm so disappointed in you. You're creating division. Spiritual people aren't supposed to be so in the matrix. I'm like, I invite you. She goes, it can't be very good for business. And I said, and this is the honest truth. And I say this with love, but I say this to all of you, and I will not be offended if you do. I say this with love because my intention is to find peace and unity. However, I will burn this entire business to the ground before I act like I don't care that women are dying. It's that simple. I do care that there's injustice. I do care that women are dying.
Mhm.
And I am not going to be inauthentic just to sell out, to appease people who are afraid of feeling their feelings.
Standing in your own. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
and to ignore my own. And if you are so afraid of being in the matrix, that's a very ungrounded and immature stance, a place to be in your spiritual path. As you mature, that will change.
Yeah.
You can't spiritually bypass your feelings. We're here to have human moments and human emotions.
Yep.
And my intention overall, and I fully own that, like as we just discussed, like I get invested in these, and that's my own journey to go on and work through. But I do get invested in these issues, and I do care deeply
Mhm.
about the humans around me. And I told her, I responded and said, I would ask you to examine your own heart and why it doesn't bother you that women are dying. And I invite you
Yeah.
to find every unsubscribe and unfollow button of mine that you can find if you feel that I'm not worth following and that you disagree with me, that we should care about our fellow humans. And I
Mhm.
mean that because I am willing to let it all go before I pretend that I don't care about these things. I care deeply. So if
Right.
that doesn't resonate with you, I wish you well on your journey, but this is not a safe space for you then because I care. Let me tell you, I care. And I get passionate about it. So anyways, I'm off my soapbox now, but I think that needed to be said.
I love that you said that though, because if everybody is watching this in this moment, that is the energy of the Seven of Spades and the 11 at work. That is that energy, the passion, the being in alignment with convictions, right? Being able to openly and freely say, this is my heart, this is my thing, and it's okay. And we all need this because we all
Yeah.
have our own path. It's okay to disagree. because we are all supposed to be following our own path. And so for you to be so passionate about that, that is in alignment for you. And that's a respectable and amazing thing, right?
Yeah,
And that draws in people that are in alignment with you as well.
it
So,
does. And I keep telling you, I told someone else this too, and I said, we all have our own paths. You may care deeply about the environment. You
yes.
might uh, care deeply about LGBTQ issues, and I do too. And that is what is needed in
Mhm.
order to make this thing work, and in order to make this thing better.
Yes.
And, every cell in the body has a different purpose. I mean, if your breast wanted to suddenly act like a foot, you'd be in trouble. Like you ain't walking anywhere. Do you know what I'm
I was
saying?
just going to talk about the cells too. I'm like, picture us as all a cell and the working bits in
Yeah,
between. We all
we
have our own
all have a
thing to put together.
purpose, and you have to find what your purpose is, your passion is,
Yeah.
and then like be there, be
In
in
it. Yes. Yeah. And when you are in that, when you are in your purpose and you are in who you are and your frequency, the other stuff, any of the negative stuff, doesn't bother you.
Yeah,
You start doing the things that were you thought were impossible, right? Because and you start not worrying about what everybody else is thinking, and you start realizing this is my life.
yeah,
Fine. And there is actually a way that I can take control of it and utilize me to do something amazing,
yeah,
right? Even if it's on a small scale, all the way up to a huge, giant scale of change, right? We all are a working part within something that is whole. We are meant to be different. We are meant to put our different feelings out there, and we're not supposed to be arguing over this. We are supposed to be saying, okay, this is my path is going to lead to this, and their path is going to lead to this, so we can all come together as one big unit, right? Because we can't all be the same.
right.
If we're all the same, what's the point, right?
With that being said, though, I want to make, for myself, I want to make sure that people know that it is okay to set boundaries.
Yes.
It is okay that just because we want to all work together as one global organism, if you will, and to come to peace, yes, we do want that. But in the meantime, sometimes it's necessary
Hmm.
to draw hard lines and say, I can't do this with you.
Yes.
Go in peace. Like this week, whether anybody out there agrees with it or not, I had to cut several people out of my life. And it's not because, they like to gaslight with the whole can't we agree to disagree thing. And it's like, we're not talking about whether or not pineapple belongs on pizza. We're talking about, do women and people of color and gay people, do we all have a right to exist in our truth and to live our lives? Or are women going to be denied medical care and die in parking lots because they're bleeding out and can't get medical care? We're not talking about some little benign issue. We're talking about fundamental rights. And if you don't think that I'm worthy enough as a human to have rights, we're talking about morals and ethics and rights and values. And if that's so far out of alignment that you don't even think that we are people worthy of rights, I can't have you in my life. And that's okay.
Yeah, it is.
That's okay. And if you're one of the people that are like, I would never do that, that's okay too. But it's important to do what's right
Mhm.
for you,
Right.
as long as you are not doing it with malice. Do it
Yes.
with love and with good intention, fine, but don't do it with malicious intent.
Hmm.
I want to make this a better world. So
Yeah,
do it from a very grounded, loving, this is what I need to do place.
absolutely. And it does, it shows us as I go through our charts,
Yeah.
shows us, especially with like, say, an eight of hearts appears. or a 10 of hearts. Michael Jackson was a 10 of hearts, by the way, if you want to put that card into perspective.
Yeah.
Just loves and feels people, right? Gathering people, all of this, but also feeling the weight of people and people pleasing is immense with his card. And so when you're speaking of boundaries, this shows up intensely in our chart, say like that card shows up or an 8 of hearts shows up. Those are my boundary cards. Either you're going to be at the whim of everybody else, or you're going to come back to you and choose who you are. It is setting boundaries is super, super important. And I do notice that the ruling nines, for instance, generally need some boundaries. I love you guys, but you're always up for a project. But you're the humanitarian, right? So, I mean, we all have these things within us that we struggle with or we need to overcome, and boundaries are so important. Having passions are so important, whichever way it is.
Mhm.
And all of those things activate within us how we think, feel, all of that. And when you were talking about us as humans and feelings,
Yeah.
this is really, really big. Um, we have 3 aspects of numerology, and I don't know, oh, the light's being all funny now, but well. And it's how we think, how we feel, and how we do. These 3 things set us up for our entire year. The first, let's see, 30 years of our lives, a little bit longer, sets us up for the rest of our life, right? Even within our week, seven days in the week, we have 3 things in there. We as humans always tend to skip over how we feel. And there's a big part of this. You actually carry this in your chart, Veronica, so I'll talk about it. Um, when we are skipping over right from logic to doing and forgetting the passion, we're not in alignment. And if you do not carry these numbers in your chart, which is a 2, a 5, and an 8, if they're absent from your birth date, this is an influence that is indicative of our heart center. It is absent from your chart. That means that more than likely you came into this world with a blocked heart chakra, right?
And that's me, right?
Yes.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. That is, and you being the 7 of spades, you're an intuitive card, very intuitive, but without this influence in our lives, your personality influence, you tend to skip your emotions. And
Which
or
is
they're
why I tend to get emotional and kind of blow up because I stifle and just ignore like it's
too
fine,
much.
ignore stuff. And then it's like, no, you know what? Actually,
Right. Yeah,
yeah.
and that's what happens because either you're stoic
Yeah.
or as a child, emotions are just too much, right? Why are you so emotional? Why do you have all this stuff?
Well, I mean, I was Gen X. We were just talking about this in the meeting too. Y'all have to join Club Shift. You get all the goods. But anyways, we were just talking about, I'm like, when we were talking about how today we want to talk, you and I want to talk about like the Gen Z and the 2000s babies and everything. And I'm like, I need tools. I want to find a way to open my heart and to like really work together and whatnot because I mean, I'm Gen X. We it's it sounds cliche at this point in time to say we were the forgotten generation, but like we raised ourselves. We were feral. We were talking about how young were you the first time you can remember walking yourself home from school and cooking dinner for yourself and stuff. I think I was like 6, maybe
Yeah.
maybe 7. And I was talking about how I couldn't get the key in the door. We had an old house with a skeleton key and I couldn't get it to work. So I just went knocking on doors in the neighborhood till some random man answered the door. Thank God he was a good man. But I'm
Hmm.
like, I can't get in my house. And he walked me home and he opened my door, and that could have landed really bad. But he got me in the house and he's like, now lock the door while I'm standing here. And he got me in the house safe. But like because of that, and we were not allowed to deal with emotions. Nobody ever said, like, how are you? What are you feeling? Or it's okay to feel that way. It was shut up and quit your crying, or I'll give you something to cry about.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, they had to have reminders on TV. It's 10 p.m. Have you hugged your child today? Because, like, what is hugging your child? You know what
Yep.
I mean? So, yeah, I was raised to be rather stoic, aloof, like feelings don't matter.
Hmm.
And you just get on with it. You get on with life.
And that's amazing because here's the thing with that is that anybody born in the 50s is
My
not
mom.
going to carry this influence, right?
Hmm.
Anybody that is born in the 80s is not going to carry this influence. But if you were born in the 70s,
Me.
you can carry this influence. And what happens is it's an explosion of emotions. They're too much, so you bottle them up. But it also, with this influence in your chart, it is saying that you are one of the most intuitive people if you can break through it. So now, how does this tie to our 2000s babies? If you remember, I said the numbers missing from your birthday are the 2, the 5, the 8.
Hmm.
The 1900s were the end for the next 1,000 years of that missing emotional influence. That emotional influence is the gateway to intuition. It is the gateway to living that heartfelt life of where we need to be in order to raise our consciousness collectively, right? And in order to be able to connect with our kids, because our kids carrying this too, they are emotional beings. We are driven by physical to complete things. We want the accolades, we want the house, we want the car. Most of us, I'm not saying everyone, but as a collective, this is generally how it's been, the white picket fence, like all of this stuff, right? There's no place for emotions for us because emotions get in the way and you can't get what you need done in order to have the stuff, right? These babies will not ever have that. In fact, they have this two energy, which is intuition, which is partnership, which is love, which is connection. For them, facts have feelings. They're going to respond so much better from a talk versus the iron fist, right? They are going to be the ones of, I don't like this. If you pay attention to their language, it's it's the way that they speak is, I don't feel like doing that. We are, I don't think you should do that.
Right.
Most of them, their mental plane is missing. They only want to do the things that they lights them up and makes them feel good. So we should be taking a lesson from them because that is the healing work that we, us 1900s babies, are doing right now, is trying to open this up. And
Yeah.
so they're emotions that lead the way. And it's a hard concept to understand when we have been taught to bury them. So when they're doing the counseling and, or say, for instance, you're yelling at them and you're like, you just need to do this. And they're like, it doesn't make me feel good, right? And we're like, forget it. It doesn't matter. Like, you have to do it anyways if you ever want to get anywhere. Does not work for them. You have to, and okay, everybody's eye is going to twitch on this one, even my own.
Okay, I'm braced and ready. What is it?
Respect is different with the 2000s babies, right? This isn't an iron fist thing. You have to be on their level and have an emotional chat with how it makes them feel. This is the breakthrough. This is how this whole new era is going to
I'm getting I'm
be.
like,
I know, right? I'm sweating over here. I'm like, oh
I'm in
God.
resistance. Like,
Oh. And
I
it's
would say I'm better at it because my daughter Amelia was born August 7th of 2000. So she's my only 2000s baby, and she has an 8 and a 2 and a 7. So like she's passionate.
hard.
But anyways, yeah, I've gotten better at it. I won't say I'm there, but I'm conscious of it
Yes.
most of the time.
Like, this is really the divide that we're having right now and the misunderstanding that we have between the generations. This is it because these kids don't want to have a bad day where we have been programmed that a bad day brings you results. You don't go
Right.
after what it is
And
you want.
that's just life. Life isn't all fun and games. You have bad days. You just get over it. Keep, you know what I mean? Get back to
Yeah,
work. Who cares?
right. And
Dust
they're going to
yourself
be
off.
more,
Being a crybaby. Like all of those toxic things that we were told and that are ingrained
mhm,
in the fabric of our DNA, which is what we came to talk about,
mhm.
because generational trauma is such a hot topic these last few years for sure. And
Right.
I mean, if you think about it, you carry the trauma and the energy in your DNA for at least 4 generations
Yes.
directly. Because just a little anatomy lesson here, everybody. The egg, a woman is born with all the eggs she's ever going to have. So the egg that created you was inside of your mother when your grandmother created her. So your grandmother created your egg. So you had all of your grandma, you got all the trauma from your mom's lifetime. You get all the trauma and energy from whatever your grandmother was going through in her lifetime. And your grandmother was the egg that created your grandma, the DNA that created your grandma was created by her grandma when she created her mom. Do you see how it just continues? So not only is it just a component that can go back like ages, but direct energy and trauma for at least probably 100 years, 4 generations. How long
Yes.
is a generation? 20 years. So like 80 to 100 years
Mhm.
of direct egg contamination, if you will,
Right.
rotten eggs. But how do you heal that stuff? Because the way that they were raised, you got to be tough. It wasn't a soft life with air conditioning and technology, and like you had to go out and do some hard work. You probably didn't have enough to eat all the time. People weren't very nice, especially if you were a woman or a kid or you were a minority. Like there was a lot of trauma. There was a lot of you need to have a stiff upper lip and get back to work. All these things that we've talked about, that's in there. All the tears that were shed by these women who were being traumatized,
Mhm.
that's in there. And
Yeah.
you're carrying it. You're carrying your own, and you're carrying at least 4 women back, at
And
least.
on top of that, your past lives. I can
Plus
see
your
that in the
past life.
chart too.
Yes, there's a percentage of your DNA that science calls junk DNA because they don't know what it is. Spirit has told me that that is like remnants of past lives and different spiritual stuff like that. And so you just have so much. You have so much to deal
Yeah,
with and contend with.
that's what all of that is. It says, okay. I mean, your chart, when I look at it, it looks like I'm playing solitaire. It's kind of funny. People see it and they're like, "Are you playing solitaire? What are you doing?" And I'm like,
That's
"No,
exactly how I
no."
described it. I'm like, it looks like she's playing solitaire on the computer. It's like all these cards and
But that's it. It is in there. If you look deep enough, depending on the questions, I can see, or anybody that uses, I guess, the system, if there's other people out there that use what I use, you can see, okay, well, you are, like the beginning of the show, are carrying this down. I can see your past life. You are carrying this over. And
are you
so,
able to see any of that on mine just from glancing, or do you have to do a deep dive?
oh,
Because I know you have mine there. Huh?
I just from glancing, I could. I'd have to pull it up. I don't have it pulled up, but yeah,
Okay.
I definitely could. Um, it's so, and it's in the small details of your day, of your week, of your year. It's a small, like the system breaks everything down. So it's bite-sized chunks for people to be able to process, right? For us to be able to actually get through. And so you chip away at it by doing these small things and having these little triumphs. And then you start building this momentum towards like this really amazing life, towards the bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
And it blows my mind because one of the stories that I guess I would tell, I have permission to tell this. My friend's mom had passed away
Hmm.
in 2006. And I was looking, she's like, okay, you gotta go in and look. Go in and look and tell me about this. Tell me what was happening around this time frame, all of this stuff. And so I did, and I was looking at it and I said, well, if you were to come to me and sit down with me when we were talking about this time frame, wondering if there was something that you should have done differently, or wondering if you did everything right or wrong. I can clearly see in that instance in the chart that says, no, you did everything exactly the way it was supposed to. So not only are you given peace, right? But in that moment, and hers in particular, her challenge was the Seven of Spades, which is faith, right? And that Seven of Spades ended up clearing in that lifetime, having faith, because by her mom's passing and all of the amazing, beautiful things that I seen in there, there was an illness that had been passed, right? Um, or that had been the contract with that had been collapsed. In the past life, that Seven of Spades was there. That collapsed. That Seven of Spades was built into her mom's chart as a whole. That had gotten collapsed. She will never experience the specific part of that Seven of Spades in that time because she collapsed that contract in that moment within her mom's passing. So our passings also stimulate other things in our charts for other people to help clear different traumas and emotions and all of that. But that was her wake up. Her mom's call was her wake up, but it was also part of one of her challenges in her lifetime. So that my friend would have carried over. And in that moment, she cleared it.
Amazing.
Amazing. It was
Yeah.
really beautiful.
Now, let me ask you this as an aside, just real quick. You said the Seven of Spades was her challenge. So, since mine is my card is the Seven of Spades, that's not a challenge for me, right? Like, faith is just okay. I was going to say, because that's never been an issue for me. Like,
No, that's
it's always amazed me when people are like, yeah, like I went on this faith journey and I had to discover, like, do I believe in God? And I'm like, I've never, ever, ever had that moment. Like, I just always innately knew like things are going to be okay. God loves me. And they're like, how did you know who God was? And I'm like, I don't know. I just knew.
yeah,
I
right.
remember being 4 years old the first time I went to Sunday school, and they were teaching people who Jesus was and who God was, and like that you should believe. And I was amazed at 4 years old that like people need to know this. Like, how do you just not know?
I know, yeah.
Yeah, I've never had that. No matter what tragedies or traumas have happened, I just always knew that like
Mhm.
everything, my faith was never an issue. That's the bottom line of that long ramble. The faith was never the issue.
I'm gonna have Lily grab one of the charts. There's papers on top of the printer, babe. I'm gonna see what your challenge is. All right, so I found you. Yeah. And like the two of us are I just got super dizzy.
Energy moving.
Yeah, massive. Us two are intertwined. We talked about this in your session about like your relationships and you being like in that spot as a king of clubs, which is I want to gather people. And that may have been something where you're like, no, I don't really want to, but gathering
Gather
people
people, what do you mean by that?
spread a message to a lot of people.
Okay, got it.
Part of your purpose,
Thought you
right?
meant like collect people. I want to gather people for.
Well, kind of, but like you have this huge message to share in front of
Yeah,
so many people about faith,
yeah.
right? But let me count. Two, three.
That it's going to be okay and that you can create your own life to be whatever you want it to look like. And
Yes,
it's really not that hard. You just have to do little intentional things every day that lead in the direction you want to go, and that you already have all the answers in there. Like, you've got this. Go make a beautiful life. Go make a beautiful world. You've got it.
yes. As you're talking, I'm looking at your chart going,
Yeah.
But your challenge in this lifetime is the Six of Clubs, and that is, I always say the Six of Clubs is like Martin Luther King energy, right? It is John the Baptist energy. This is like either you can remain stagnant and just be, right? And just not do the things with your life that you really want to do, or you are going to create a movement. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to be out there, and it definitely can mean that you do this, having masses of people with you. It is that energy.
Yeah.
But you want to create a movement that snowballs, right? A
Yeah.
movement of faith that snowballs and of
Yes.
truth and harmony and balance and all of that, right? And so when you're living on the high side of that, which is what you're doing right now, you're doing it. You're getting it done. Yeah. And it's so beautiful. And your outcome, I'm gonna cry with you. Your outcome
I'm
is
trying not to. I get so red when I cry, but anyways.
your outcome is the Six of Spades, which is helping others clear their karma. It's helping others find their path. That Six of Spades is so fierce and so strong with finding truth, with finding that, that belief system. It's about helping other people feel really good. All of our spades, when I talk about them, is a life lesson, and the six is the karmic balance of it. And so,
No, I know that I've had some past lives where like I was pretty rotten. I was pretty rotten. And so I'm like, I wonder if it's my role to like help inspire people and help them even in little ways to pay back all that rotten karma because like I had some pretty questionable behavior in other lifetimes. Not all
well,
of them, of course, just some.
I think we looked into that when we were doing your reading too, and I think I was like, this one's a little questionable.
Yeah, I
But
don't remember.
I that day there was so much information that
There
day.
was so much. We talked and talked and talked, and I
We
did.
both took a nap after.
Yeah, yeah. So I didn't absorb all of it, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's all fascinating the way that this goes. So going back to the clearing your DNA,
Hmm.
when you had reached out to me and had this topic, I was telling you that the day before that, I was meditating and it just came to me to ask for help to do that. And so the day before, I had spent time calling on my guides and the archangels and just saying, can you guys please help remove and deactivate anything in my DNA that lends to fear? Can you please deactivate and remove from my DNA anything pertaining to trauma? Can you remove and deactivate anything in my DNA that pertains to lack or hunger or not enough money? Or can you remove anything that has to do with mistrust, barriers in relationships due to fear of commitment or mistrust of the other person? Just all the things that I could think of that were trauma based, that could be themes that could be passed down
Hmm.
and could be stuck in my DNA somewhere. Can you please just like flip the switch off and get it on out of there?
Right.
So, I mean, that comes back to faith too. I mean, did it work? I have faith that if I ask, that I get help. So,
And then we ended up talking, so you asked for help, and then we both like there was so much that was there that we talked about that day. And then the energy was so intense. So intense because I remember
yes.
sitting in the chair thinking, I am burning alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think because you asked, I don't think it's a coincidence that we got together and that there was that much because you were like, I want to get rid of this and this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
And
And the other thing that I did just right before you and I got together is I had been talking to Spomi, my main guide, if you don't know. I'd been talking to Spomi about how I had been feeling overwhelmed and just so overwhelmed and burdened by everything that I wanted to do nothing. And I'm like, I need a team. I don't have team money, but y'all can fix that. Like, send me a team and the money to pay for a team. I need a team in order to accomplish all the things. Like, I want to do all the things. I want to make oracle cards and tarot cards. I want to make planners. I want to have retreats. I want to write books. I want to give speeches. I want to do all the things. But your girl is tired. I need a team. Please. Thank you. And then when you and I got together and you did the whole like, are you doing the politics? And I'm like, well, that tracks. And you're like, well, if you solve that, all of this opens up to you. And I'm like, well, what does that look like? And you scrolled to 2025. I'm like, what year are we in? 2025. And you're like, the whole next year, see this? This is all planning and building a team. And I was like, it's happening. And then you're like, if you stay in alignment and you follow that path, 2026, see how it's all red? This is all the things coming to fruition that you built the team to make happen. And I'm like, it's finally happening. It's finally happening.
I love that you said that too, because I remember looking into our charts. I think I was messaging you back and forth, and we all have this thing called our decadent card. And
Uh-huh.
that is one of the most powerful relationships that you can have in your entire life. I'm yours.
Shut up.
I'm yours.
I
Yeah.
love it.
I was like, I was in here and it was funny because, I always do random stuff where all of a sudden I'm just like, yeah, like screaming and stuff. My
Ah,
family just ignores me now because that's just how it is.
you know what?
It's like,
I tell you what,
oh my God.
through this channel, I have met so much of my soul family, and
Yeah.
some of them live all the way across the world. But like
Yes.
people I never, ever, 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 ever would have met had I not lived or had I not created this channel.
Mhm.
And I almost didn't create this channel. It was on my heart for quite a while, but because I'm shy, like I was just like, I can't, I couldn't possibly.
Right.
Who am I to put myself out there? People are going to be like, shut up, old lady. We, but you have no value. And then my ego, because I got fired up, is what made me start this channel. Because if you don't know, my ex-boyfriend named Fred, if you've been a viewer of this channel for any length of time, you know Fred. And we've been we've been apart for almost 2 years now, but we're still very good friends. So you hear about him all the time. Anyways, Fred and I grew up together in church, and Fred and I were always frenemies. Like we had to be civil, but we really didn't like each other. I wanted to like him, but he didn't like me, and he was mean. He was a punk as a teenager. He was just a mean, stupid boy. And so as we grew, we had mutual best friends. So we were always on each other's Facebook and stuff, but we kind of watched each other like Fred. And Fred had reached out one time and said, I'm going to be in your area. I haven't seen you in like 25 years. Do you want to get lunch? And internally, I'm like, no, I don't want to get lunch with you. You're Fred. Why would I want to have lunch with you? Like, that's an hour of my life I'll never get back. But externally, I was like, sure. What could we possibly talk about? But okay.
Mhm.
And so we went to lunch. And at lunch, I was telling him of my thoughts of starting a YouTube channel to teach the stuff. And he started laughing at me. He was like, you? You think you're going to be able to get it? Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And I was indignant. Internally, I was like, who does he think he's talking to? I'm perfectly capable of starting a YouTube channel, and I'm going to help so many people. Just you watch. I'm going to stuff it in your face, Fred. So I went home that day and started my channel that day.
Yes.
And it was because Fred laughed at me and told me I couldn't do it.
Like
But
that.
anyways, I don't even remember why I started talking about that. But
I like that you said that though, because that is that King of Clubs energy in your relationship spot. If somebody tells you you can't, right?
yeah, which
You
I
sure
try not
can.
I try not to be that way because I don't like being like an ego driven I want my ego to serve me for my highest and best and not make me just an asshole. You know what I mean? But uh
I don't think in that instance it is, though. I think the way that that showed up for you was somebody was trying to hold you down and you broke that contract of being little,
or
right?
spirit really inspired him and they knew what spark I needed to
Yep.
get me my I am capable and I am intelligent and I am draw this is my destiny and
Mhm.
I'm going to do it. That needed to be stronger than my fear of being seen.
Absolutely.
And they knew what would get me there. So they were probably over there eating their popcorn and they're like, somebody whisper in his ear, like, tell him she can't do it. Tell him she can't do it.
Yeah.
Watch, watch. Here you go. Ah, yeah,
This is gonna get
doing it.
good.
Doing it. She's doing it. We're good. They're like, well done, Fred. And he was just, so how did I start dating him? And we ended up in each other's lives for like 5 years. Like, I don't know. But he's one of the best people I know. I love him to death. But he is the sole reason I started this channel. But if I had not started this channel, I wouldn't have met so many people that were my soul family and that played major roles in my life. Not only have I helped people,
Mhm.
but people have helped me. They say if you want to learn, teach, because you really learn the material when you teach it, but also
Absolutely.
because as I'm teaching, I'm exposed to a whole world of people that everyone has a story and has value, and they send me messages and they send me comments and they say things that make me grow and learn. And it's been a beautiful process, and I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you guys.
I feel that too in my soul. I always say that well, we're all coded to each other, right?
Yeah.
Like when we were just talking about the decadent card, I'm yours, but your lifetime outcome is mine. So we are so coded together, and we that's what it is. It's a give and a take. And then with the people that come into our lives, they tend to come in at exactly the right time and help you with the specific things that you need help with,
Yeah.
good or bad. Good or bad, it all has a reason, and people are always there to help.
My problem is that I'm a clinger, meaning that like once you're there and I like you, I don't ever want you to go away. And some people are just meant to be there for a season.
Right.
But earlier when you said I gather people, I was thinking, well, I mean, that's kind of true, but I never thought that was a good thing. I always joke that if I were a Barbie, I'd be commitment Barbie or attachment Barbie because like I'm
Yeah.
like Velcro. I'm like, I don't want you to go. Stay.
Yeah.
Then I have trouble releasing because I'm like, no, I like you. Where are you going? But
Right.
some people are just meant to like float in and out like a leaf in the wind.
Yeah. Even just that split second smile from somebody changes something in the
Can
past.
change everything. It can
Yep.
change everything. Sometimes, I'm telling you what, there have been times on this journey with this channel, particularly this year when I had decided to take some time off. I turned off my coaching sessions and different things. I was just taking a step back to live life, to reevaluate. I mean, what do you have to pour out if you never get filled? But anyways, there were times where I had the mouse in my hand, I had the button over the like delete channel button type of thing. Like I was shutting it down. I was quitting. And it would be like new comment. And I'm like, what does it say? And it would be like, you've changed my life so much. I can't thank you enough. You have really helped me. Please don't ever stop doing what you're doing. And the tears would stream and I would put the computer away and I'd be like, okay, I won't quit. But it's because one person had the kind heart to say thank you. Please don't stop doing what you're doing. You have no idea how your words, even a simple one, even a smile, even just a thank you, that literally changes someone's life.
It does.
You never know who you're coming in contact with.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Being kind, and that is going to be a big thing to remember this year.
Yeah,
Moving into the 9 energy year, it is going to be kind.
be kind.
Going to need it. Be kind. Don't get swept away with the collective. Come back to your family and what matters most this upcoming year. Take that with you because we need that. We need
It's
that right
okay to
now.
feel what you're feeling. The thing is, don't get stuck there.
Right.
The feelings wash in like a wave and then they wash out again. Even
Mhm.
if you're a believer in the Bible, it says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. You walk through it to the other side. You don't build a house in the valley and live there
Right.
for years.
Mhm.
Let the feelings come and then let the feelings go and then return
Right.
to a place of peace and joy and kindness.
Face it, feel it, free it. That is what my coach always told me. That is the basis of this heart center, right? Face it, feel it, free it. That's it. We need to face it. We need to feel it. We need to free it and then come back.
And then come back. Yeah. The thing, I mean, you could feel anything you want to feel, but you don't have to live there. What does Joe Dispenza say? Do you know who Joe Dispenza is,
Mhm.
Dr. Joe?
Yeah.
I can't remember how many seconds or how many minutes.
I
I
think
don't know the
50
exact number, but I'm gonna just hypothetical, like I'm gonna make it up. But basically, when he's talking about anger, he's like, you are really only angry for X number of minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 9 minutes, whatever it is. After that, you're lying. You're making it up because the physical response of anger and the emotional chemical response in your brain of anger, it only lasts that long. After that, you have a choice to get over it or to hold on it and go, no, I'm going to stay mad.
That's
After
right.
that, you're just faking it. It's a decision. But like actual anger, the feelings you feel, it only lasts for a matter of minutes and then it washes
Yeah.
out like a wave.
Yeah.
And after that, it's a decision. So
Hmm.
decide to come back to a place of centeredness, of mindfulness, of peace and serenity. And sometimes that just means a place, I call it a place of hushed quietness. I feel very hushed. Like
Hmm.
there's not a lot I have to say.
Right.
What is there to say? I'm just quiet. I'm not angry. I'm
Right.
not losing my mind. I'm not sobbing and bawling. I'm not being mean. I'm resigned to the reality. I've accepted it, but I'm just still and quiet. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's where you have to be in order to heal. But feel
Hmm.
what you got to feel and come back.
Yeah. That's right. And I feel like our emotions are a catalyst that gives us the option of which timeline you're going to sit on,
Yeah.
really, when it comes to healing. So recognizing that and having awareness around that, it
Yeah.
really shifts who and what and when, where, why.
Yeah.
So when we are talking about clearing our DNA and how our charts help us really move through that, it is kind of like when we were talking about earlier, how we have like a step-by-step manual to move through it. So we're going to go through how are you thinking? How are you feeling? And what is it you're doing? And so we can, like I had said, we go through and we look at what the card actually is that is our challenge for the week, right? So we're going to take the ace of or the eight of hearts
You
again.
can look at your chart as a whole for your lifetime. You
Yeah.
can get it for this week, this day, this month, this year.
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, it's expansive.
Yeah.
And if you're a Scorpio, I love you, I'm a Scorpio. You have two past lives that you came carried over, so you have that going on as well. So there's a lot just because we are in Scorpio season right now, right? And we
Yeah.
have going on.
I love Scorpios, particularly I like November Scorpios the most. I mean, of course you are. Yeah.
Oh,
As a
but
Capricorn, I resonate with Scorpios big time.
but yeah, so I mean, you look into your past life, and if I'm hunting and rooting for something, your challenge is the Eight of Hearts, right? Then we have this karma spot that is saying, okay, we're going to use the Six of Clubs, because that is your challenge. This is our karma that we're clearing. Um, so people and your overwhelm with people and your ability to allow people to come into your life and help you create and help you make relationships and help you take care or have like let them help you take care of yourself is the challenge into clearing that Six of Clubs karma, which is that big giant energy of I have a message to share, right? So if you're blocking your blessing of your team, you're not going to clear that karma. But if you allow that love to just pour in, right? We're gonna quit
Funny
that.
because you said learn to do it on your own and everything. Um, anytime I would be whining or crying to my guides, like, when am I going to find my person? Let me just find my person, land them on my front doorstep, and like just let me be happy. Give me a partner. Come on, let's do this. And they're like, it'll come, but like your destiny in this lifetime was to learn how to do it on your own. You're going to have people around you that help you to learn how to do it on your own. Like, this is your first lifetime that you've gotten to be an independent woman.
That's right. I'm
And
looking at your chart right now.
yeah, and so you are supposed to be an independent woman. And I'm like, bump that. I've had enough.
It says it here in your chart too. They're right. They're right. And I think it's funny because I didn't realize that this was actually in your chart because I didn't have it in front of me.
Uh-huh.
Eight of Hearts is the environment that you have around you for your lifetime, which is people, which is power with people, which is independence. This is the environment. And your karma in this lifetime in particular is the King of Diamonds. Mastery of value, right? Mastery of valuing yourself enough to be your own leader, to do it on your own. That is your lifetime karma, and you are on your way to clearing it. Because I think where you are right
Thank
now,
God, because like I'm ready. Like, am I gonna
yeah.
die alone? And they're like, no. And I'm like, are you gonna send me someone in the nursing home? Because like I'm 52. When is this gonna happen? And then they're like, do you really want someone in your space, in your house? And I'm like, no, but I want someone. But like, do I want them right here? Like, I want someone who loves me and leaves me alone.
That's that King of Clubs showing up.
Oh my
That's
God.
it.
I
Hmm.
want to live in a duplex and we each have our own space, or maybe an in-law suite so he can have his spot and I have mine, or maybe we'll just live in different houses. I say this stuff, but I know that when I fall in love, it'll take care of itself. And I'll want them so close. I can't get enough, but like as a single person, I'm like, I don't know. I kind of like my independence, but I also want a person. Anybody else like that? Leave me a comment if you're the same way. Make me feel not so alone in this. Right.
Me, me. I don't like being alone, but I like to be alone, but I don't like being alone. Like,
Yeah.
yes, you have like a powerhouse card sitting in your relationship that's like, don't mess with my freedom. I am destined to be in,
Yes.
but don't mess with my freedom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't mess with my freedom and don't oppress me.
Yes.
Don't get too in my space. Yes. But like, other than that, be here.
Yeah.
Be here and be loyal, but like, you know,
Right. Yeah,
some
for
chill.
sure.
Don't be overbearing.
I'm just looking at everything that I have here for you, just looking at like your lifetime chart and your papers, and you're in like the Four of Hearts right now. And which is stability in relationships. Like, when am I going to drop into that? And this is the whole big time frame, like just very above you. But
Yeah.
yeah, this is definitely up front and center as a part of your life. And this is you're in the time of your life right now where you're learning on how to receive your blessings. So keep that in mind. Is that, am I going to accept? Am I going to
I have been
allow
working on
myself to
that.
have
I
things?
have been working on that because there
Yes,
tends to be a big limiting belief or block that gets reinforced by a lot of you out there. I'm just being honest. I'm calling you out. That if you are a spiritual worker, shame on you for charging anything. You should be giving this as a gift and free. And I say, if you can afford to do that, that's awesome. But I have bills to pay too.
absolutely.
And that is just that whole energy is reminiscent to me from church trauma of how the Christian church manipulates and gaslights and takes advantage of its members because they're like, you should give of your talents for free. This is, consider it your ministry. Yes, we expect you here to like mow the lawn and watch the kids and run the church and clean the building and to do all the things, but we don't really want to pay you for that. Do it for free. And people have bills to pay. It's an energy exchange. If I'm giving this much of my energy,
Mm.
I need to have something back. Right now it's basically a passion project. I think YouTube gives me about $100 a month. So like that, it's nothing. But it's a passion project and I'm okay with that. But I would like to get to the point where there's more of an energy exchange, a fair energy exchange for compensation. But that's a limiting belief, and I have to learn how to accept my gifts, like you said, accept my blessings, because I tend to get in my own way and I'm like, should I be doing this for free? Should I? Am I doing something wrong? And I block it.
So I will be one of the first people from me, myself, starting two businesses by myself with literally not a pot to piss in.
Yeah.
I am a firm believer that if you have a gift, doesn't matter if it's healing, doesn't matter if you're a painter, doesn't matter what it is, a book writer, right? Because we seem to be very particular about what deserves to get money for. If you
Yeah.
have a gift, you deserve to get paid. If
Right.
you want to use your healing gifts to get paid, there is nothing wrong with that because you also have to eat. You also, it is your blessing, your skill, and your talent. Everybody else is out there using their book writing skills to make money, right? It's
Yeah.
just because it's more in the
More
mainstream, I
acceptable.
would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if
Yeah,
you are a
singers
healer,
and football players and
yes,
you
yeah,
know, I get paid to exchange my nursing skills for compensation. You know what I mean? It's
it's healing in a different way. That's all that is. And so if you run a business, if you're thinking about running a business, or if you're worried about charging for your services, I say you deserve to get paid.
I agree with
It
you.
is your blessing and your skill, and there is nothing wrong with monetizing it because you're supposed to be living your passion and your dream, right? You're supposed to be doing that. And for you, that is part of your path, right? You carry
Yeah.
all these working powerhouse cards, even for mine. It's about work. It's about enjoying what you do through your work. And so turning your gifts into monetization is not a bad thing. Now, I don't know if anybody out there is going to argue with me. I love you all. I love each and every person.
Everybody has their right to believe what they want to believe, but you shouldn't judge people for doing what they're doing. And
Absolutely not. Nope, that this everything makes the world go round, every part, right? And if so what? There's people that charge money for their gifts and there's people that don't. Well, for the people that can't afford this person, well, it's a blessing because now they can go to this person, right?
yeah,
So it
good
all is
perspective.
intertwined and amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me. It's always a pleasure. Do you have anything to add before we wrap it up?
Um, I don't think so. If anybody's interested in
Tell us.
having a meeting with
Yeah, I was going
me
to say, tell us
or
how to find you.
yeah, my website is KaylaEichmeyer.com. I am also the owner of Embody You Energetics. It is a wonderful company, I guess, or company one-man show at home online business thing, right? I work with
Okay.
energy. Of course, I work with numerology, all of the wonderful things. So you can find me on Facebook too, just underneath my name, or if you want to jump into my group, it's free. It's Embody You Energetics, and I talk about the numbers. I talk about all of the things, the psychic, the mediumship, all of that. So just like you have your little community, I have mine, and it's a really great place to get together for healing and to find like-minded people and a whole lot of guidance through a whole lot of different modalities, I guess I would say.
I love
Yeah,
it.
community.
Yeah. Well, I always love meeting with you. Thank you so much. And uh, if anybody has any questions, please put them in the chat. Please let us know your thoughts. Let us know
Yeah,
your experiences. And if you haven't yet, hit that like button and the subscribe button. And I will talk to you later. Take care.
yeah. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I love this. I love seeing
My
you.
pleasure.